meeting. The first order, that as we typically do, we take a look at our November minutes. And so November 10th, 2021, commission members, are there any edits, corrections, additions, subtractions, anything that we need to address when you reviewed them? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion to accept.
Okay, we have a motion to accept. Can I get a second?
I'll second it, Jerry.
Okay, Linda is on the second, Norris is on the motion. Questions, concerns? Hearing none. Ayes,
Aye.
nays, abstentions? We move forward, we approve. Okay. I am going to, again, like I just gave heads up here, Linda Sepso, working
Yes.
with Linda, on the courses, school approvals and so forth. Are there any issues, concerns, questions on what was put forth here with the, on the agenda, beginning with AAL-860? And it would, then we have them at the last one being APR .230. Are there any issues or questions that we have here?
Jerry, I think I'm missing something. Linda, when were these sent over?
They weren't. They were all, every single one of these had AQB approval.
Oh, all right, fine.
Okay,
Yeah, I was surprised. There wasn't a single course that came in that didn't have it.
Wow.
I know.
all right then. Can I, if there's no issues from Linda and Linda or concerns, any red flags that you may have, can I have a motion to accept the courses presented on our agenda as put forth?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Norris had, I think you beat someone by a millisecond here.
Okay,
You got the
I'll
motion.
second it then, Jerry.
Okay, then Linda is on the second. Are there any questions? Anything else to be brought up on those that are put forth here? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions, then we have it, we have that pass. Very good. Okay. Working, okay. Let me just take that off here. We've addressed on the agenda. All right. Was there anything on legal, Linda, that Vicky may have told you to bring up?
She didn't, and she sent me a text. She's trying to log on. She's having some technical
Okay.
difficulties, so.
Then
But-
we will hold out. I will come back to legal once Vicky is able to join us in the event there is an item 2 or 3 that we must take a look
Okay.
at. Okay. All right then. Let's get in, before I get into the new business stuff here, I want to get into the old here. And we had Robert Pellegrino requesting equivalent pre-licensing course approvals. Linda, the floor is yours to give us a quick overview, because I've read through some things here, and in the event I missed something.
Okay, and Robert is here, so if we could unmute him, and just in case he has anything to add. I've looked over, he sent me pretty much some good detail of everything he took. He graduated with a degree in real estate from the University of South Carolina. Is that correct, Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's make sure I had the right school there off the top of my head. And I looked over this stuff and I don't see any issues. I mean, it was pretty detailed regarding the basic appraisal principles and practice course with the courses that he took with it. So, and looking at some of what I did is I also went back and looked at some of the degree approvals that the AQB has given to other schools. And his courses were pretty similar with regards to that. It's just a matter that, you know, University of South Carolina has not gone through the AQB process. So looking at it, I think he should be fine with the appraisal principles and practice. Obviously, he's going to need to take the 15-hour use path to become a provisional. That's not covered. And
Linda-
then the supervisor
Linda's-
course.
Okay, Linda and Mr. Pellegrino, were these undergraduate or graduate courses?
They were undergraduate.
Okay, thank you.
Can we see Mr. Pellegrino's face?
Unfortunately, my camera is not cooperating right now. My apologies.
John, that's because the Gamecocks have had a tough season in football this year. Now everybody wants to turn things off and try to put the rearview mirror and look forward to next year.
Yeah, a couple bags on the head in the stands, you know. Can't be showing the face around.
Commission members, are there any questions on for Mr. Pellegrino's request for equivalent pre-licensing course approvals? Hearing none, is there anyone who would like to make a motion for the approval for Mr. Pellegrino of the principles and practices courses?
I'll make a motion that we accept the courses for principal and practice.
Okay.
What was that picture?
I don't know, Jerry Joe, what was that?
I'll second the
Um,
motion.
And, oh, hi, good morning, Shauna. And Shauna makes a second of the emotion. Questions, concerns? Hearing none, and we'll call to a vote. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions. Mr. Pellegrino, ho, ho, ho. Good luck. I know you got to take USPAP, and you're well aware that that's the 15-hour version, correct?
Yep. I actually completed that one already. I just got to finish the 4-hour one.
Okay, very
Okay.
good.
And Robert, what I will do is I will forward you an email saying that the commission approved this. And when you send your application in, if you could also upload that letter, and then I will upload all the paperwork you previously have sent me. So we can
Awesome.
get it approved.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay, good luck.
Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you. All right, second thing on old business, we had Kurt and, boy, I don't want to mispronounce this, that Berknecht, RCG applicant, log approval and sample selections.
Yeah, you guys received his samples. Terry Joe emailed them to you, or his log, I'm sorry. So, and he is looking to do, they're all commercial RCG. So if you guys can take a look at it, pick out a few, let me know so he can come to the next meeting.
I am going through it right now here, or well, I have someone else's, excuse me, on the lawn. John, do you have it in front of you? His log?
I can put
Sorry.
it up for the commission members.
Which one is this?
Kurt,
Is he available? Is he,
He is not on the call at this
he's
time.
not on.
okay,
I have, I received logs. Everything I received was for residential. I received, is that what we're picking up?
No,
Sorry, what's his name?
Kurt,
K. Bachnet?
yeah.
yeah. Maybe it's residential. Why did I think it was certified general?
No, I thought all these were form reports, UAR, photos, product.
Then I apologize. You know why? It's his sponsor is a certified general, so
That's what threw me. I have those. I
yeah, I apologize. It's totally my fault for putting an RCG on his.
would then
his-
ask Sean and Linda to weigh in here on what they think would be appropriate if I could, because they're more up, you know, this is their arena.
Yeah, I mean, they can always, you know, if you want to email me the samples they want to see, that's fine.
Okay, would that work for you, Linda and Shauna?
Sure.
Okay, you
Do
get a
that.
chance. Shauna, you're on mute. I'm sorry. There we go. Well, I see your lips moving, but I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Shauna?
No,
No, it doesn't seem like her sound is picking up.
Okay,
There she is. She's cracking in now.
Yes.
There you
No.
are, Shauna.
now we can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I guess we could pick the samples. That's fine.
Okay, you guys feel free to send those over to Linda and then we will then move that forward. Okay, I thought I missed something with John as well, because, all right, fair enough. The next one we have is a Christina Laporte, RCR applicant sample review. Is this the one that they asked to go for next month?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
So-
she is ill and has asked to be continued for next month.
so we'll put her on that agenda, but are
We
we
did-
only
we do have
to,
to talk to her before she submits. though. Jerry,
go ahead, Linda.
we do have to talk to her before she submits, though. She sent in some reports, but the only thing she actually developed on anything was the sales approach. She did not do anything in an income approach and nothing on the cost approach. And, you know, the statement on the reports was like, for the cost approach, the cost approach wasn't developed because the client didn't need it. That's not an issue. The issue is, does she need it? So before she resubmits everything, we need to talk to her and get a little bit broader spectrum of what she's doing, because it's just on one approach.
Okay, so we're gonna table Ms. Laporte to the January meeting on the agenda.
All right, and I can send her an email requesting an appraisal with a fully developed cost approach. And if there was something else you guys needed to see, just let me know and I'll include it.
Have her do an income approach too.
Okay,
Because I mean, one of them was, she did a multi on a single family form. So
so you want a multi on a multi-form?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't even know how you can do a multi on a
yeah,
single.
it was confusing. It took me a while to figure out what it was.
Okay, very good. So that's where we are for Ms. Laporte. So
Yeah.
we will put her on the January agenda. And Linda, you will find time between now and the holidays to let Ms. Laporte know
yeah, I will do it right after this
the
meeting.
concerns. Thank you. Very good. And next on the old business was Robert Andrews. I can see his smiling face. Welcome, sir. And I believe you have someone off your left shoulder, and who may that be?
Yes, good morning. This is Nick Celentano. He is my supervisor here in Enfield, Connecticut.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Very good. So you are an RCG applicant sample review. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Terry Jo, could you please put that log up on the screen, please?
Okay.
Um,
Mr.
he-
Andrews log?
Yes, please.
Linda, did you send me that this time around?
No,
or
I
was
didn't
it
send
from-
it this time. It was the previous time.
Sure.
I forwarded the commission members all the samples he had sent me to look at.
Okay. Did I get those also, or?
All right, so the samples have been sent.
Right,
I
to you
have 'em.
guys.
Good, okay.
I'll be
Fair
putting them up right now.
All right.
I'm not sure you have them.
Okay. I have some logs that were the appraisal logs that we had presented in November. And
Right.
so those aren't the ones you need then?
No, no, I
Okay, yeah, then I-
emailed this, yeah, I emailed the sample reports to all of you,
To the commissioners.
to the
Okay.
commission members.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I got him. I went through 'em.
All right,
Okay.
John, go ahead. Start, John. Thank you.
Morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Very good.
Hey, good morning.
I want to start with the last one I received was 78 Bill Hill Road, Lyme.
Yep.
So a question on this one is, you say it's deed restricted and it's restricted use report format. You state that. I understand that. First of all, I like the, I know forms can be very restrictive in communicating on analysis, but I like this form. Is this a form that you guys actually, is this one like a software program form, or is this a form that you guys kind of evolved over time?
So this is a form that's been. we've
Agware?
used- Yeah, Agware, correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been using, I mean, I've been using this pretty much since I've started here.
All right, so have you written any narrative reports just completely from scratch?
I have
Yourself?
wrote some, yes, I have written some narrative reports as well.
Okay, all right. So on 78 Bill Hill Road, Lyme, it's deed restricted. Now, this report, from what I gather, the deed just says the two sites, it's two parcels, abutting parcels, and it says they cannot be sold independent of each other. Right?
That is correct.
But can they be sold off to be subdivided for residential subdivision or anything?
They cannot.
Okay,
So it's an agricultural restriction. The property can only be used for agricultural purposes.
so the development rights have been sold off.
The development rights are sold, yes.
Okay, so where does it say that in the report that the development rights were sold off?
Page 12 of the report.
Huh?
Page 12. Development rights restriction. It's the fourth paragraph down.
Page 12.
12 of 60.
Okay, so that said, on your sales that you used, were the development rights sold on your sales too?
They were,
So all those sales conveyed with the development rights already sold.
correct.
Okay. All right. The only other thing I have on this report is if you look at you mentioned a previous sale on this report. I forgot to put what page it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's page 8. The top. It says the subject
Oh, yeah.
property sale and marketing history analysis. So, you know, we have in USPAP, we have standard 1, which is the appraisal process, and then we have standard 2 with this communicating the report, which is just something that we on the commission see a lot. It's not so much that the appraisers coming before us don't understand the methodology by now,
Mhm.
okay, of appraising the process. It's communicating that analysis, okay?
Okay,
And unless you communicate it clearly, then it's difficult for us to really understand that you really understand the appraisal theory, okay?
okay,
And I know you're limited by the form, and I understand that, but that's no excuse for not being really clear. And that comes over time. So in this particular case, you say the property last transferred, I'm just gonna use as an example, on
Yep.
April 8th for a price of 830, the transaction occurred between blah, blah, blah. The
Yep.
buyer received a discount on the sale based on the vet. So in USPAP requires us to not just state what happened, but also analyze on a previous sale, okay? So
Okay.
I would have expected you that going forward to be more clear on that and state that, you know, I'm not putting any weight on it, or I am putting in weight on it, or the price was based on an appraisal, you know, or something. But as appraisers, we should be researching those, and we should find out that, hey, the 830, the thing may have appraised for estate purposes for $1 million. And
right,
this guy was
okay,
given a discount because he's, you know, 5/16 of an owner in the tractor, and he got to keep the John Deere and all that kind of stuff, okay? So
Okay.
that's something I would see. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next report. So if we could pull up if we go to this, I'm just gonna jump up here. I got a bunch of notes. If we go to, I want to go to the horse farm on 253 Main Street, South
Yep.
Windsor.
Yep.
And then Jerry, just so you know timing, because I know we have a lot to do. I'm gonna jump after that just to the South Windsor, and I'm not, and then quickly to the Westport. I'm not gonna bother with the first one. So the horse farm, This one, you comment, I just want to talk about extraordinary assumptions. In your first report, I understand that you did it during the height of COVID. It was the beginning of COVID. You did it from your desk. And
Yeah,
everything.
the 199,
Right.
Shipley Schoolhouse Road, right? Yeah.
But in that report, you mentioned that you relied on information from the property owner, okay? But
Correct.
you didn't make an extraordinary assumption. I'm just warning you that when you do get this information, you should be basing it on an extraordinary assumption that that information is correct. In the next one, you talk about, you do make that extraordinary assumption, which tells me you do know how to do this. You actually say it on page 10. You talk about extraordinary, but I want to caution you not to overuse an extraordinary assumption. For instance, on page 10 of this particular report for 253 Main Street, South Windsor, you say, states that an extraordinary assumption that the systems are in working condition. You were talking about the mechanical systems in the house.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of like a general assumption. An extraordinary assumption would be used for something a little bit where we're not really sure, but it's highly likely, etc. All right, so I'm going to suggest that you go back and review that going forward. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Understand, they get a better grip on that.
Okay.
So it took me a while to go through and understand what you were doing. On this one, I have a problem because on your income approach, I'm going to jump around because we have a lot of time, a lot of stuff on our agenda. But on the income approach, I have a problem with, is this how you guys typically do an income approach for an equestrian operation?
The band of investment technique? you're
No,
talking
I'm
about?
not concerned about that. Is you basically estimated the total revenue from boarding. Okay, and then you estimated some expenses. There's no support in the report for any of there's no rent comps or anything. You just state that you surveyed the stuff. I would prefer to see as a reader, but I understand that you guys are doing these internally and you have your own databases. So
Yes, yep.
I'm not going to hound you on that. But in this case, Jerry, you might want to look at that income approach real quick. So in this case, you just take the gross revenue, you deduct some expenses, you come up with a net operating income and you cap it. Now, I understand that theory, but typically when we're doing something like that, we're actually estimating the value of the property as going concern. So there's no comment in there about that income coming in, what is actually covering the return of and on the equipment used to operate that facility or anything in reference to profit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you end up overstating the value of the property. Now that's what I read when I read that. Okay.
Yeah,
Now that may be a typical methodology used, but it's not clear to us how you actually came up with that. You also don't do a cost approach in this report, but you don't really say, you just say that the buildings are old. Yet when we get to the next one, you do a cost approach and it's an older building. And I do a lot of equestrian operations. I mean, I've done it several. I have a couple of litigation cases, one large one coming up on equestrian operations. And I know the cost approach is something that everybody considers. Every time I go out and I talk to these people, the first thing they come to me is, well, I can't build it for this. All right.
Right.
So the cost approach is something they consider. Now, I don't have a problem with you excluding the cost approach. I would just expect to find something more in your report saying why you didn't do the cost approach. And the other thing about this report is flood insurance. You don't mention anything about flood insurance. It isn't a flood zone. As a matter of fact, I do recall going over the 291 and looking down and seeing this property underwater at one time. So this is an area of flood. I'm familiar with it. So I don't see any issue, anything addressing flood insurance on this one. So that said, let's just hold off on that. Okay, and then I'm going to jump to the next one on South Windsor. Okay, so South Windsor is the industrial building. It's a garage.
Yep.
All right, it has a billboard on it, correct?
It does. That's correct.
Where in the report do you address? I got to pull the report up.
Yep.
Do you address the billboard income?
I address it in a few different sections. So page 1 of 53, on the report summary, I say there is also a roadside advertising billboard. That is about midway down on the page.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't.
We're in the valuation analysis to address it.
Yeah, so so do you want to know why we excluded it from the valuation?
Yeah.
The reason for that was because the owner of the property, so this report was done under a hypothetical condition that the property was going to be split. And he was going to actually remove, if he ended up getting that subdivision approval and purchasing the property, he was going to therefore remove that billboard to have better trucking access to the property. So the customer asked us to not include that. And I do have that somewhere in the report, written very clearly in the report somewhere. I just need to locate that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's move on. So that's that. So let's go in this one, let's go to so you're splitting it off. You do a cost approach only. You don't do, and let's talk about your sales that you use on the property, okay?
Yep.
You basically, you don't really use land sales. You're using building sales and doing a land residual technique.
Yeah, the issue was, there was limited vacant lots. That was,
I'm going to stop you right there.
Yep.
That's my turf. There's a lot of land sales. There's
okay.
a lot of land sales. So, but I understand that you do this residual technique. I like the fact that you're doing this. It shows to me that you're thinking through the process of that and understand the components of it. But there are land sales out there. And the other question I have is, this is an older building. You did a cost approach on this, but yet in your equestrian operation, you didn't do a cost approach.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't do a sales comparison or an income approach on this. If the scope of work was just for the cost approach, that's fine. You're limiting it. But in that market area, there's plenty of sales and there's plenty of rents of garages all up and down there. I mean, South Windsor is actually the car auction companies in there, and there's tons of garages rented around that area, and I have a large amount of multi-tenant industrial space. So can you just talk why you didn't do a cost approach, an income approach or a sales comparison approach?
I mean, I probably should have here. I was trying to get this done quickly for the bank. There was time.
All right. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like my father-in-law went to court because some lady hit her in the back, and her excuse was that her breathalyzer was going off and she took her eyes off the road. Stop. Okay. So, all right, I got you there. One more last thing. I'm going to jump to Westport, and then I have a resolution. I don't have any problem. I think you understand the appraisal process, but it's communicating the appraisal process.
Okay.
On the Westbrook report, you say in the report that you're you're valuing the least fee interest, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the least fee interest basically means the property is encumbered by a lease, right?
Correct. That's correct. Yep.
So in your report, you do I have a bunch of things for this, but I'm just going to focus on the lease. You don't really state the terms of the lease. You just state the lease, and you state the lease is at 40. I think it's $4,100 a month.
That is correct.
For the whole property.
Yep, that's correct.
You mention in the lease that the building has the potential to be subdivided to multi-tenants, but you don't really mention it in the building description. That's okay. But then you jump, and instead of you say that lease is low at $4,100 a month, and you use a rent of $4,500 a month. Okay, you're saying that that's market rent, and there's really no rents in the report, comparable rents. Let's do it. My problem with this is if the property is encumbered by a lease, the lease restricts the marketability of the property if it's an arm's length lease. So somebody buying this property is actually buying a below market income stream for a period of time, which you don't really talk about the duration of the lease in the report. So, and so what happens is there's no deduction. That's fine if you want to do that, but there's no deduction in rent loss for the duration of the lease or any consideration given to that in the income approach. So when we're using when the market rent equals the leased rent equals market rent, lease fee and fee simple are what? They're typically equal, right? But in this case, your lease fee interest is actually going to be less than your fee simple interest, which creates a leasehold position for the tenant, right? Maybe temporary, but there's one created. You also do the land residual technique, the building residual technique here, and don't come up with any sales. And then I got a question on your cost approach real quickly. You come up with a building, I know you're summarizing there. I got that. I understand that. I'm okay with that. But it doesn't really address site improvements. Is site improvements factored into your base costs?
It's not, no.
Are site improvements addressed in there? The contributory value of paving and
Yes, they are. Let's see.
Take your time, Mr. Andrews.
Yep,
That's
sorry.
okay. Take your time.
Yep. Yeah, so what I did here was I factored it into the land value when I was reconciling the land value.
factor the site improvements in to the land value.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too clear. Okay. On the last question I'll say on this one, on the sales comparison approach, if you just go to your adjustment grid.
Yeah.
Which is page, help me out, you could probably get here faster than I can. Page, I think 39.
Yep.
Okay, so it took me a while to understand how this actually works. I kind of like it when I was done looking at it, but you're only really making an adjustment for market appeal design. Okay. There's nothing in here really adjusting any of these things. I mean, part of your subject is not finished, right? It has an overhead door.
That is
Right.
correct.
Some of these sales are 1-story, some are 2-story, some are, I assume, have sprinklers. There's no indication if they have sprinklers or not. Some have more land area, etc. When investors are buying commercial property, aren't they typically considering these factors? The amount
They
of
are.
build out? Right, right. So I know that you're probably summarizing these things for internal use, right? Because you
Mhm.
work for the company that's reading these, right?
Yes, correct.
That's fine. So from what I read, I have this suspicion that you understand the appraisal process, but I'm having a concern that you're having trouble communicating the appraisal process. Okay.
Okay.
So Jerry, if it's okay with the commission, I would like to recommend that.
John, I have some questions.
All right, why don't I wait? Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
you do I understand it correctly? You do a fair amount of equestrian and agricultural type properties?
That is correct. That is our main focus at Farm Credit East. We're an agricultural lending institution, so I do a lot of agricultural properties.
And that will include not only equestrian stuff, but do you do into the cranberry farms and alike?
Wineries, we do a lot of wineries and vineyards, greenhouses, development restricted properties.
Okay. And with those type of properties, are you then getting into the going concern arena and values instead of just a real property, but you also then break out furniture, fixtures, equipment, and business enterprise value?
Yep,
Okay.
we won't do business value, so.
Okay, but you break out a component of the, what they call the total assets of the business component, where you have to break out to be conformance of use path.
Correct.
Okay. Unlike bowling alleys and skating rinks and gas stations, I live in a world personally where probably 85 to 95% of my work is in that arena. And we don't have the benefit in the area that I work into, what they call the uniform standards of charter accounts, where it accounts for where Mr. Commissioner Galvin was going into the expenses and so forth. In the agricultural world, and I'm using that as a broad band, do you folks have or you're in that industry does uniform standard charter accounts for your expenses? Are you covered by that, or are you in my world where they don't cover your world in that component? That means, does your industry have, really what goes into every expense category? Because I work in one where they haven't touched it, and I've been living in it for 35 years. So that means we have to explain. You may have to ask it's a very technical question.
Yeah. I mean,
collateral purposes, we're really only looking.
We can't hear you. I'm sorry, sir.
Collateral purposes, for these assignments, we're looking at just the real estate. We have other departments who handle any personal property, trade fixtures and business valuations.
Okay. So your area for Mr. Andrews, when we're looking at his work, you don't have a lot of going concerns then. That's why I just wanted to know. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, we're conservative, and we're valuing it as obviously a typical buyer, not trying to sell if we foreclose, we don't want to sell the property with that management or anything. We're just looking at the real estate for any of those industries.
Okay, so you don't get into the world of equipment and so you don't lend on the total assets of the business is what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, so if we do lend on machinery and things like that, we have different appraisers who do that, chattel appraisers who handle that section of it.
Okay, so I just use this for down the road for your experience and so forth, in your career, is that because we're into a very technical gray area, okay, and very few people really get into it. You probably just when you get into it, and I'll just use a cranberry farm or an equestrian center you may want to put a sentence or two and just make sure the reader's never misled that your value that you're putting forth does not include the furniture, fixtures, equipment, or in your world, more so the machinery and or the management or the coordination aspect. Because I understand a little bit. I come from a family of farmers and what have you, so I listen to it every family reunion on these things. And the world that I happen to work in the medical side, we're in two areas where there seems to be a little bit in the appraisal industry, a little disconnect. So I just use that as a cautionary tale down the road, just to, therefore you don't have any issues in your business side. Okay.
okay.
Okay. John, that's all I have to say. I had a couple questions. You had already hit a couple of areas that I had on my notes, so there's no sense of regurgitating. You wanted to, speak. Feel free.
So in going through these, I found issues with all of them, but I think there's similar issues. And I think it's something that you'll be able to resolve over time just by focusing on, I understand you have limits on you, you have timeframes on you, but I'm going to say never use that as an excuse. I mean, I know we have to be business wise, but you got to get it right. It's your name on that report. No one's going to remember that you're late or on time. They're going to remember the report. Okay. And that's what, as a commission, that's what we're trying to uphold, is the public trust in the appraisal process. So I'm going to suggest, instead of approving your work products today, that you just take the industrial one in South Windsor, that
Okay.
report, and go back and do a sales comparison approach on that property, and do an income capitalization approach on that property. And I'd like to see some actual rents in the property for that property. And then go back and look at your cost approach and see about breaking out the stuff so that we can understand that you understand that. I don't think it's really necessary. I think if you just do it in one, then I think you could have easily done it in the Westbrook property and then the farm. I think, whether you guys do a cost approach or not, that's your choice. I do, caution you, flood insurance. You guys definitely know what flood insurance costs. The price is coming down in a lot of ways, but in that income approach, as Jerry talked about, it may be something that you gotta be careful, because sometimes we come up with these methodologies in our head and we get used to them, we get blinders on and we think they work because the numbers line up. But that isn't really what's going on in the market. If it was a multiplier like a house, you're using a gross rent multiplier on a house, as you learned in the basics. If you were looking at it as a gross income multiplier on the boarding horses, or something like that, that's one thing. But when you go through and you don't break out the different components, it really can be misleading. And I think, as a lot of these farms are really on the margin in terms of being profitable. If you're breaking out the house component and you're just doing it on the equestrian operation itself, and you're considering excess land and the potential to subdivide the land, in this case, it's a flag lot, it really doesn't have that. That's one thing. Then maybe you would have a correlation, but in a lot of these, there's a lot of other economic components involved in that, in the running that business, which you did address, but there's often more, and so it really becomes difficult to do an income approach, I think, on the equestrian operation without breaking out the contributory value of FF&E that Jerry talked about, and regular variable costs, etc. All right, so that's my recommendation, Jerry, is that he goes back. And is that okay with you?
Let me just, other commission members, are there any questions or thoughts or concerns? Shauna, Norris, Linda?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Okay. Norris?
I'm fine.
Okay. So John, did you want to make a motion is what you're trying to do here?
Yeah, but I want to make sure, Rob, are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
I know it's disappointing and I'm sorry.
We try to stay out of any of these industrial buildings and stuff. So in Bobby's defense, there's few that we come across in our requests. So we did do them to gain experience and competency, and hopefully as a learning experience. But we do focus only on mainly farms. So
The ag side, yeah.
No, I understand that. I respect that. Totally respect that. And I do a lot of agricultural stuff over the years. I have an agricultural background, so I understand what you do. I totally respect that. But again, our job is to make sure you understand the appraisal process and can communicate that appraisal process. So that's why I'm thinking that just the industrial would, if you just tighten it up, I think when you get done with the exercise, you're going to find out that you're going to benefit from it. So I make a motion that that instead of accepting his samples, that he goes back and takes the South Windsor report and enhances the cost approach, adds a sales comparison approach and an income capitalization approach, and then comes back before the commission with that report.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, Norris has a second. Now we have questions. I have a question here. So John, for Mr. Andrews, if he gets this back over to you or through Linda to you, would Mr. Andrews, if this gets affirmed on this vote, would you be able to have this turned around in time so you're on the January agenda? Or do you need February? What would be, I have a question on that. Mr. Andrews?
Yeah, January is good.
Okay, all right then.
You can take till February if you want. It's not,
No, I'll have it done in January.
Okay. Right then. Are there any other questions before? Okay, the motion's on the floor. Mr. Galvin, your vote?
Aye.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My thought is, or did you want to allow him the option to submit something early before January to have you guys review it so that when he comes on, it's done? Or no, you just want to go through the exercise in January at the time of the meeting?
He can submit it to me if he wants. That's fine, if that's okay.
Thank you. I think that would be helpful.
Very good. John, excuse Mr. Galvin, oh, you're for the motion?
I'm a yes.
Yes. Linda?
Yes.
Shauna? Shauna, we don't hear you. You want thumbs up? Okay, I see a thumbs up as a yes. Affirmative. Norris?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's where we're at, Mr. Andrews. So we'll make sure you are on the agenda for next month, okay? And we'll try to take care of this here for you. Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Vicky, very good to hear your voice. We're going a little out of order here because we have something I think will be taking a fair amount of time. But I started to hit legal and then we were trying to log in. Is there anything we should be aware of on the legal side of the fence? The floor is yours.
Hi, good morning. To my knowledge, no, there's nothing that you need to be aware of. I think everything was sent to you relative to the link. We continue to work on looking at ways to improve our process. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it.
All right, great.
Thank you
Okay.
for your time.
For new, is there anything, Linda, on the ASC?
No,
Okay.
I was
Great.
quiet.
All right. All right, then we have under the new business, and I'm going to go backwards. Fred Richards seeking equivalent education for the seminar, Connecticut Commercial Real Estate Conference for 3 hours. Were there any questions by commission members on this submission?
I
I
took
don't really see
that.
any details or anything about that. I just
I-
saw
I-
the outline. I just saw the outline. I didn't see any details.
I took that seminar and I thought it was fantastic, to tell you the truth. They every, UConn used to do these things and we'd have, quite a few people show up. And this one they did via Zoom. And there really wasn't much for Mr. Richards to submit in terms of an outline or anything, but because they didn't offer one. But basically, they started out with a panelist of mayors. And one mayor backed out, but it had the mayor of Hartford, the mayor of Manchester, Bristol, and West Hartford, or Bloomfield, I think it was, show up. And basically, they were basically talking about economic development when they're in their community, and it was really insightful because it allowed it was a different perspective of hearing how on the political side they actually think of the development process in terms of commercial development and how they look at that in terms of, Shauna, you're probably a lot more familiar with it from the assessor side, but from an appraiser sitting out here, it was very, very, especially since, a lot of these developments that they were each talking about and how they look at it, there was some, one community was looking at some in certain ways and other communities were looking at it in different ways, depending on the needs within their community. And then the second part of it was the traditional, which we've always approved in the past, where they went and talked about the retail market, the different industrial market, the retail market, the office market, et cetera, that portion of it that's being highlighted right now. So I thought it was very good. I have to qualify that I don't need the hours, but if I do, I would like to submit the time too. I don't know about the, how many hours is he actually submitting for? I forgot that part. Is it 2 or 3?
3 hours.
Three.
It really, it was a 3-hour. It was 3 hours.
It shows here, John, on the schedule, to be candid with you, about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a course in the past has been approved when Greater Hartford had an actual school with us, but they no longer have a school since they have to pay for it, so.
Okay, so so we could be seeing in the next 3 months for CE, a number of people who individually have to apply for this.
Correct.
Am I understanding this? Okay. So, John, you went through it. You feel confident that this is the old UConn Fall Conference. Is this what this is?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
I thought it
what-
was very good. I thought the governor didn't show, but but the economic part of it was very good. It was a little vague, you know, but it was informational. And then, but the rest of it I thought was fantastic. The mayor part of it was just the industry thing was always good. Those guys are always great. They all talked about, look, I mean, Tom York was very good on the office market. Marty Kenny was very good, because Marty Kenny talked about some developments that he's involved with in some other states, and how COVID is impacting those development process. You know, LEED certified buildings and stuff like that. So that was very good. And the hotel thing was really, the guy was just very experienced and very knowledgeable, and also understands the valuation process. So he understood that he was talking not just to brokers and investors, but also appraisers. And he really addressed quite a bit of stuff. And of course, Mark Duclos with the industrial stuff was very good too. And they bounced around. So each one would talk about things. It was more conversational, but it was just very good.
Okay. Any other concerns or thoughts by commission members?
Yeah, you want to make the motion?
I don't know if I should make the motion because I went to it.
You can.
That's right, I will. I'll make the motion to approve Frederick Richard for 3 hours.
Okay. The motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Linda has second. Discussion. Hearing none. Ayes,
Aye.
nays, abstentions. 3 hours for Mr. Richard for the Connecticut Commercial Real Estate Conference for the 3 hours. And we should probably see these coming through for the efficiency. If we get people coming through, do you want to individually here, or do we want to consider a blanket for this? I ask you, Vicky, on the legal side, do we run into issues if we did give a blanket because they didn't apply as a school and so forth? Should we still go individual, person by person?
You know, one question I have before Vicky answers is, there's no way to really track who was there other than if they paid or not, right? Is there a way in the past, how do we handle seminars like this that we just trust? Because we usually do it. I'm thinking of the different guys from CBRE who put in for the real estate conference that they go to, the week-long thing in the past.
This one we received, or he received, that he forwarded to me, an email from Greater Hartford Board of Realtors that he had attended.
Okay.
In the past, when we were actually doing the classes, everybody had to sign in and sign out, so you knew when they.
Right, and they had to give a certificate, but now if they're not an approved, they don't. But as long as they send something, an email or something stating from the school or the seminar that they attended for the full time, that should be suffice than an actual certificate.
Maybe you just answered my own question. Sorry, Vicky here, but maybe we're just better off on a one-off basis. each one applies, no blanket.
Yeah, each one would need to apply, so we have their info in file for when
Exactly.
it's audited.
Yep, you're right, Linda. All right, sorry about that. All right, thank you. Okay, number 2, Renee Helian, seeking equivalent education of the course Stats, Graphs, and Data Science 1 from Value Metrics, looking for 14 hours. Now, I want to make sure this is for continuing education, or is
Yes.
this for pre-licensing?
No, continuing ed.
Okay, so this is a continuing ed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I forwarded to you everything she sent to me.
Yes, and I know I was going through this here from their introduction and, you know, their, I guess for a lack of a better phrase, their syllabus and how much time they're going to scope of work for 50 minutes and 75 minutes in data selection and so forth. And the data and machine brain interface, and that just hurt my head when I read that the first time, you know, so. Any thoughts, commission members?
Look good to me.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion, Shauna? Shauna, you're on mute.
I'll make the motion to approve the 14 hours.
Okay, Shauna has made a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Linda is second. Concerns or questions? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. Ayes,
Aye.
nays, abstentions. So 14 hours to Ms. Halion, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing the name too badly here, for 14 hours of continuing education for Stats, Graphs, and Data Science 1 from Value Metrics. Very good. And now that leads us now to our last thing on the agenda, outside of if there's anything to come before us, or comments or concerns, and that is the list of complaints presented to the Department of Consumer Protection. So I don't know, Linda or Vicky, who, what, or where. I think you said last meeting we have 30 or 31 or 32. So we turn over the floor to you to give us an overview and where we stand and where we go from here. Okay, so the floor is yours.
All right, so I went through, and some of the complaints I have are not appraisal related. They're either someone complaining about an AMC not being paid, or there's a couple for timeshares and interstate land sales, so those don't concern you. So appraisal related, I have a total of 23 complaints.
Whoa.
And there are 2 from Fannie Mae and 3 from an AMC regarding, you know, they don't meet the criteria, such as one of the AMCs, it's, you know, they used a sale from another town, or they used a sale that was over 6 months old, over a mile away, you know, those type of issues. So that's where those are. There are a couple, or actually I would say 7 or 8 from either the seller or the seller's broker, because the deal fell through.
Oh.
And they didn't get the value. And then the rest are homeowners looking because they didn't get their refinance because the value was too low.
Okay.
And then there is one other one that is that I know John is aware of, and I'd rather not. It's possible fraud. Well, it is a fraudulent appraisal that we're working on.
An alleged
Fraudulent
Right.
appraisal.
I think I just want to say that hopefully, you know, Linda's, you know, telling this in a, you know, broad way in terms of the types of categories of cases that we have. But, you know, I have to caution us not to give too much detail in case we would need to have one of the, you know, commission members, you know, step down to assist, or if we need to bring the case, we don't want to, you know, prejudice it in any way. But, I mean, in terms of the categories, I think that's sufficient, but in terms of any detailed information, I think we have to be very careful of that.
I respect that, Vicky and Linda, but historically, when we did go through these, we used to receive, and we'll say like case 101, it would be a simple sentence. Every month, we got things here. And that was approved by the Attorney General's office and so forth, because it was so vague, but the commission members knew where, number one, it could be from the assessment community, dispute on value. That's all we needed to know, you know.
Okay, is that what you're seeking now
Yeah,
at this
I
time? or-
really am.
Okay, I get it. Okay, thank you. I got it.
In fairness to everybody, to the
No, that's, I agree.
and the commission, and I understand where you're coming from. We got to be careful, and we don't, you know, but at least as commission members, we have a sense of where we are at, and therefore, and the general public who, you know, listen in on this, that, okay, we have 23 complaints, and I think what was valuable, Linda, what you just told us, you know, last month it was 32. You had some that had nothing to do with the.
I have 30,
the
I
Connecticut
personally
appraisal.
have that many complaints, but
Yeah,
they
you
don't
know,
have
and
anything
just,
to do with you.
and if that was like case number 301, what, I don't know what your case, how you do it. I have no idea, but therefore it has something to do, whatever you said, but it does not pertain to the appraisal commission. Then we know, okay? In the event, any questions, we just have a general overview from 30,000 feet. We know what the heck is going on, and we can ask a general question. And Vicky, that's where you step in and say to Jerry, you're getting close to the crossing the line. We can't.
Okay, I get it. No,
And that's fair. That's
yeah, no, I
really
get it.
fair.
I get it. I think we're on the same page. I get it. I think we're on the same page. I just wanted to be sure that Linda didn't go too much into depth, or that there wasn't any, you know, questions that would, well, I'll say compromise anything that was being done. That's all. But I think we're on the same page. I get it. No problem. I got you.
Let me ask you this. It's a complicated theory question. I do not have an answer. Okay, but I'm gonna, and both Linda and Vicky, here I'm pointing to the screen, you know, at your faces, you know, so I think, we only have X amount of commission members sitting right here. And by statute, we need what, 4 to hear? Am I correct on that number? Correct me if I'm wrong.
It has to be a majority, but yes.
Okay, so a majority of the 8 or the majority that are currently on? So do we go with 3 or 4?
I can get clarification on that. That's a very good question.
Okay.
In the past, I think it's been the majority that,
It's present.
present
Okay.
members that we have.
I think you're right, Linda, but I don't want us to get caught in a
Right.
technical thing when we're dealing something here.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'll just use an example. John, I'm going to pick on you. John may, you know, you may ask John to step down on a specific case, or John has to recuse himself because it involves, you know, a business partner or a job that he did or whatever the case may be. I'm just using, I could have said Linda, myself, or whatever. John steps down. That means we're down to 4. You know, we go from 5 to 4. We're starting to get in that tipsy area. Do we have enough to hear a case if it goes that arena?
And that's one of the reasons I'm trying to be very generic.
No, I understand. That's okay. So say that because it was, and I'll just use an example that a former partner of mine, I'll use me as the guinea pig here, okay? So I don't make anyone uncomfortable here. So I would have to, you know, for whatever reason, step down because it could perceive conflict of interest. Now we're down to 4. We get into it here, but it's so complicated here, and say it was a commercial thing, John had to get involved to help in the investigation or whatever the case may be. Now we're down to 3 to hold it. You know what I mean? Since we're only 5, 3 should pass muster. Heaven forbid one of the other 3, Shauna, a Norris, or Linda gets sick. Now we're SOL, short on luck. So I'm wondering if under the legal statute, if we could appoint a grand jury, so to speak. Okay, Linda Sepso, remember when we, way back when we got going here?
Do.
That was me, because I was recused from everything, and I was the whatever you want, whatever I just said, the grand jury, so to speak here. We move forward with these. We're trying to help out. Linda Robitaille, you are stretched beyond stretched. Vicky, you're stretched beyond stretched. These are so many things hitting you folks, but I think we may have dodged a bullet here when we got our review because of our complaints. You just humanly couldn't get to it here. Is it possible for us to consider appointing a grand jury person or persons? Or is that not allowed? That's a question to be researched. I bring this up. I'm trying to help find a solution to try to help move things along. Because under how things are right now, Vicky and Linda, you're doing probably the jobs, the two of you, jobs for 4, 5, 6 people. I get it here. But I also look at our responsibilities as commission members to try to move these as an expedited component here. And they didn't bring it up this time when they did the review, but they have in the report. Boy, they always like to say, well, we have a complaint that's over a year, right? That's their magical red light. Am I missing something? So I know I just said a lot. So I'll shush up and listen to your thoughts.
I can get clarification. The grand jury theory or process that you guys had used was prior to me being a part of the.
Yes, it was, I hate to say, many years ago. I'm sorry to say,
Right.
yes.
So as a result, I'm not sure what that process was. If there is, something I can make reference to or whatever, I can bring it up. The other thing is, of course, I would have to, contact the AG's office to get clarification as to what that process should be. I have not spoken to Alan recently, but I do believe that Alan is also retiring. So I need to check on the status of his retirement. I know he had indicated to me that he was retiring. I'm not certain if it's going to be at the end of this year or before July 1st of 2022, when our, contract changes and all of that. So let me get some clarification, if I may. If there's any information that you have, Jerry, about what that process entailed for the appointment of a grand jury, if you will. If you have any notes, or if it's some period of time that I could look at the minutes or something of that nature, then I can have a frame of reference, because I don't know that. Was Alan your appointed AG?
This is a long time ago.
It was, I've got to come up with a woman's name. Linda, you may remember, her father was a judge in Hartford. I'm really going back. I want to say O'Rourke, but again, you're asking something 25 years ago. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Jerry, was this the case with that guy who made himself a phony license?
No, that was part of many of them, Linda, but we remember we had that process where they suggested, there was only Ed McMahon at the time here, but he was doing not only this, but something like what Linda's doing, other departments or other things, and we moved it along. And I'm going to have to go through the archives here, Vicky, to find who that was. Okay.
Okay, but I guess, well, maybe you could just give me just a summary, if you will, of what that consisted of. I mean, I think I understand what a grand jury is, but I'm not sure how it worked in this arena. Can you tell me that?
Yeah. Oh, I can get right to it. Whatever the cases would have been sent to me, I would have reviewed the case here and say, like Linda just said, some of these just don't have any merit. They're not worth the time to go forward here. And then where others would, well, these now require, investigation and time and so forth. Back at that time, there was a tremendous run on what Linda just said, 7 or 8 of sellers brokers saying, because you didn't make the deal, the appraisal is bad. There was a tremendous run on those type of things here. And of your 23 that you're saying here, Linda, that's 1/3.
Hey, Jerry, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, when you did that 25 years ago, was there a lawyer, was there a Vicky on staff back then? Is that why you did it? Because you didn't take it to the Vicky or the administrator or a Linda type person?
It was kind of handed over, and I'm trying to remember her name. There was a Vicky, so to speak, here, and I can't remember her name. Why? That's one of my shortcomings. As the years go on.
Was it Elisa Nahas or Anna Facido?
No, well, it was before Lisa.
Before Elisa was, I
Yeah.
believe was it Anna Facido?
No, no,
Okay,
okay. And then I did work with Lisa Nahas through
right,
that as
absolutely. And
well.
that's not,
Yep,
that's right. That was my predecessor, if you will.
yep.
In terms of, yeah.
And then after we did the law thing, I don't know, I'm dating myself, it was like 2000, 2001, when we really, we darn near got shut down. Then we got away from that system, okay? And because there were to be other resources and so forth, and they asked that, a commission member not do that at that point in time. And that was all part of, when they reset the fees and so forth, and assets, and that's where things went on at that time. So that they were the tipping points. So
Did you have a full board at that time?
about equivalent to what we have right now, Vicky,
Okay, all right, then that's
Okay.
fair. Okay, all right,
Okay.
okay.
because
Commissioner Rasmussen.
there were 3 sitting there, and then Linda and myself, Denny Mazzano, and Nick Tatro then were put on to make us up to 7. Linda, is that correct? 7 or 8? It was something like that. Heck of that era.
Commissioner
Linda,
Rasmussen, I'm
yes.
actually looking at minutes from the April 12, 2000 meeting. I do see 7 members on at that time.
Yeah.
And I do see this DCP staff that was present. Lorene Rubino.
Yeah.
She was the real estate exemplar, and DCP counsel was Alyssa Nahas.
Right. Okay. But then there was also someone from the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
Okay. Now, that maybe not at that meeting minutes that you're looking at. Okay. But
Jerry, wasn't there, oh, maybe that was sooner though. I thought there was somebody from the legal side that was a man. So I remember calling him, but about the guy without the license who made his own rules.
yeah, that was a long, that
That was a long
was,
time ago.
yeah. But anyway, here I've been talking. Other commission members, do you have thoughts or questions or what we're talking about here? First of all, thank you. Yeah, yes, Shauna, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I do have a couple, I have a question, a couple questions. You say, is any of those from the tax assessor community? Because I hear all the time that assessors say they're sending reports and they don't hear anything about them, or nobody's getting back to them. So, and it sounds like there's none, according to what I just heard. So I
There
guess that
was,
question's for Linda.
there was some that came in. The last time any came in was pre-COVID. Was the last
Over 2 years ago.
yeah, that I have any assessors. So I'm not sure if they've sent them where they went, because I don't have.
Were they
them.
resolved?
Those? Oh, yeah, anything from back then is resolved.
I do hear many, many times about that. So I want to make sure it's on their end and not the state's end that these are getting up there and not getting dealt with. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, I mean, the mail comes in, if it's addressed to me, it goes into my basket, and I was just in the office yesterday, so.
At the moment, you
there's
say
been,
there's
Jerry, is there a process that Linda gets a complaint in the mail? What happens next? What's the
That's my next
process?
question. You beat me to it, Linda. That's my next question.
Go ahead, Linda. You tell us what the process is.
Okay, so once a complaint comes in, if it comes through the complaint center, if somebody calls in with a complaint, or they mail it directly to me or email it to me, I will review it. What they have, if I need more information, I contact them, because a lot of times they'll just send a letter or something or an email. And it's like, well, you need to forward me the appraisal that you received and any communications that you have with whoever, if you've gone through the proper chain of who you're supposed to speak to, because, a lot of it is the appraiser won't call me back. I have a complaint. I don't like my value and he won't talk to me. Well, no, the appraiser can't talk to you. So, you have to go through the proper process, and then I send it out to the appraiser for a response. I ask for his or her work file and a copy of the appraisal and any communication which should be in the work file. And we go from there by reviewing it for, and I don't ever make and I tell homeowners, assessors, whoever at the time, I do not make a determination of value. We do not do that. We, it's simply an enforcement agency. So we just look to see if there are any violations of USPAP.
Or state laws.
How do you
Right, or state
determine
law.
that?
Well, USPAP is state law, so, but you're right. So that's, I don't make a determination of value. I will never tell an appraiser they have to change their value.
Well,
That's not something I can do.
Who makes the determination that there is something invalid and it should go farther?
What do you mean something? If there's a violation of state law or USPAP, then it's the determination of, is it something that they just, something minor, they need a letter of caution? Is it something we need to have a compliance meeting for, which would entail the respondent, me and Vicky, and we try to resolve it that way? Or is it something so egregious it needs to go before you guys? Or is it something that some education will help resolve it? Like, once you talk to some of these appraisers, especially some appraisers who have worked in such a vacuum where they only, work for one person and don't attend courses in person and don't talk to other appraisers and don't really keep up with things, that if you discuss it with them and they're like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that type deal. I would much rather give them an educational session,
Right.
and teach them how to do something right than give them a $500 fine that goes on their record.
Yeah.
So that's
I guess that's where the next part comes. I mean, who's making that determination if it should be just educational? Should it be a letter? Should it be, shouldn't somebody, I don't know if it's just you, if it's you and Vicky. I mean,
a lot of it is me, and some of it, I have questions, then Vicky and I discuss it of where we think we should go with it.
because like a lot of these letters of reprimands or, or education things that you guys offer to these people that we never see. I don't know. I think that the commission should know about those things. That's just my opinion.
Well, let me ask this. Is it, okay, I'm hearing a couple different things. Is it that you would like more, I'll say, reporting, or do you want more involvement? If you want reporting, we can say on a monthly basis, we have received, 12 complaints the month of, February, because it would be the month before. As of, well, today, this is December. As of November 30th, we had received, 7 complaints. Of those 7 complaints, 4 of them were about, valuations, which, there's no determinant on values. We never do that. So those were closed out. The 3 remaining ones were ones in which we have asked for, the work file, and we are awaiting that information because generally they have 15 days or 30 days in which to submit the documentation for us to review. Is that would be reporting to you guys as to what the, I'll say, monthly status is, if that's what you're looking for. If it's that you want me to say, not me per se, but if you want us to say, hey, Shauna, can you please look at this case? Now, the problem is, or the problem has been in the past, not saying anyone in particular, everybody's time. Well, I thought I could get that. I don't have this, so I just want to get clarification. If it's that you want a statistical analysis or a statistical report of where we are or how many complaints we received and what the status is, that can be done. That can be incorporated into the monthly meetings. I don't think that's a problem at all.
No.
That's a good idea. We can have a record of it, and that
I
helps
think
us
that
as
would-
well.
That
If
would
that's-
definitely be good for the public.
Okay.
Just to
Okay,
see
that's
that-
fine. We can do that starting January. Let's do it
so
starting
everybody
January.
says that would be great for the public to see that there's
Okay.
been X amount of reports
Okay.
filed. And
That's fine. We
Thanks
want to
for
make it, we
resolve.
want to make it as transparent, if you will, as possible within the confines of what it is that we can do. So let's just say starting January, for our January meeting, we will give you some kind of a report, if you will, reporting, if you will, and I don't have a problem with putting that on the record in terms of tell us what you want, the number of complaints received for the previous month, the status of those complaints. In the status of those complaints, is that amenable? I guess, is that sufficient, if you will?
And I do, you know,
The
it's a
types, I mean, when I say,
fine
yeah, the
It's
types. the
also
type
a
of-
fine line, I think, as you say, when should the commission get involved and not? And it's a very hard decision, but obviously if somebody just doesn't like their value or
Which
they
is
hit this
probably
and that,
90%.
there's no
That's
reason for
probably
anybody.
90%.
Huh?
But those are the tasks, I mean, those should come to the commission because we can look at it and say, you know, okay, this really is not valid. There's something wrong with the report. We can't just look at something and say, somebody complains that their value wasn't high enough. Well, they could be right. There could have
Could
been
be
a
right.
grave error on that report, so it has to be
Right.
looked at.
Right, and everything is, I mean, everything that comes in, anything that comes in writing, we have to open a case. And with the ASC requirements, I send it out for a response to the appraiser.
Can I jump in?
Okay.
Mhm.
So I agree with everything you're saying so far, and I think it's a good idea as a start that we get that statistic on our monthly agenda meeting. But, you know, Linda Robitaille, you're going to be retiring soon, and there's no guarantee we're going to get another person in who understands the appraisal process.
Or even another person.
Other person.
Okay.
So I think it's a good idea that we actually pursue what Jerry had originally suggested, that we find out what our options are, number one. And number two, I also agree with both Shauna and Linda. USPAT standard 2.2 requires us, you know, we have to write a report that's not misleading. And
Right.
so I know, Linda, you have the experience to look at this, say, okay, this is not misleading. I understand that. But going forward, we might not have that person, which means I think those should be going to the commission. I also want to take this a little one step further and think that you know, our goal here is to uphold public trust in the appraisal process. At least that's how I operate. And
Mhm.
in that process, I think the public would have from the feedback that we're getting back from the public, all of us have gotten back, is that the public would feel more comfortable if actual appraisers on the commission were looking at some of these reports and, you know, and validating. Now, they don't have to know specifically what's going on, but just that process is in place, that we're actually looking at them. And if there is a red flag, we're pulling it out, and then it goes to another process. So I think there's two issues. One is how, you know, having us be more in tune about what's going on in terms of statistics, but two, coming up with a process that, you know, for Linda, when you're no longer here, that these things are actually being looked at by the commission. So we're actually taking more of a role in pulling out the ones that really are issues.
I do think that in the future, I mean, it's hard because we're only a board of 5, soon to be 4, but I do think that it would be better that if there's one person from the commission that helps review these. I mean, you talk about time, Linda only has so much time as well. And I'm sure it would be beneficial for everybody to know that not only did the state look at it, but somebody from the board looked at it as well. I think it goes a long way for the public, in my opinion. And like John says, Linda, you're leaving. Who knows if there is somebody, who is that next person? We don't know. And it could be somebody very green. Just think it would be very important to have one of us involved if possible down the road. But starting with the stats will certainly go a long way. People will say, oh my goodness, at least I can see it's being registered on a report that I filed a complaint in December. Next month when I go there, I see, oh, there's 4 reports. My report must be one of those, or something like that. That would
No,
help.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And like I said, as much transparency as we can possibly provide, I think we can, do better with doing that. That's not a problem at all. And
Because in
in
this-
terms of how it is, let me say this, I've been on other boards. I used to do boards exclusively, and I've been on other boards in which there was a member, that was assigned to, a particular case or whatever. it can get a little bit cumbersome. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Yeah.
Even if it's a simple case, I don't mind, going down that road again, and that's fine. But let me touch base with, the internal people here, if you will, to see how we want that matter to be handled. And again, my understanding is that if there's any additional documentation that can be provided as to how the process had been utilized previously, that we can probably look at that. And maybe this is the way that we may have to go because of our knowledge that, Linda is leaving. Maybe, we may have to have more involvement from the board members. That may be, this may be foretelling, what the new process will be until we, get somebody or get a replacement or whatever. Because as it stands right now, we don't have, I don't have, not, I don't have any knowledge of, what the replacement looks like or when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. I mean, I have to be,
Yeah.
totally candid with that. I'm just saying. So yeah, okay. So let me do a little research if I may, and get back to you. And I can make this representation for January. We can have some type of reporting process incorporated into our minutes and our meeting, indicating the number of complaints, the status of the complaints, the nature of the complaints, the basics in that regard.
Vicki, went way back when, 100 years ago, when I was on the board, we actually had a person who was assigned because that guy that made up his own license, I worked with several departments trying to track everything. So the members on the board actually did review and work with whoever else you were supposed to work with in the department. But like we went in, we interviewed people. One of the ones I remember doing was somebody was selling these houses that weren't, like the ceiling would fall in the next day, that kind of stuff. So I went and inspected 6 homes, looking for all the issues that, like one of them the guy went to turn the furnace on. There was nothing connecting the furnace to anything. It was just a furnace sitting in the room, all of that kind of stuff. So we went and did that. We looked at those, we reported on them, got the guy who was impersonating an appraiser.
Yeah,
Actually, I thought he should have gone to jail, huh?
I hear you, Linda, but remember back then, that's when we had 7 people on the commission.
I know, but what I'm saying is that, Jerry, from my point of view, where I'm sitting right now, I was considering that this was my last meeting. I would be done unless you didn't have anybody coming on yet, which I'm assuming you haven't heard from the governor.
I haven't heard anything, but I'd be the last to know, I would think,
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything. We
But
do
we
have a
did-
board meeting. We, meaning, I'm a part of the legal division. We have a board meeting today. I mean, a staff meeting today at 2:00. I will bring that up to ask what the status is.
Okay, because I
Right.
told you, I wouldn't leave and leave you with 4 people. That's untenable.
Right.
So
Are you telling us, Linda, you'll stay month to month for us for
yes,
at least
I will
now?
stay until you have sufficient people on here.
Okay, well, thank you.
If I leave and there's 4 of you, how are you going to get a decision made?
Oh.
Right? I mean,
challenging.
really, and it's too much work. You're supposed to have so I don't mind staying on for that and until you get somebody.
Now that you don't have to drive to Hartford in the snow.
Yeah. And we got to do a Zoom. I'm telling you right now, that drive to Hartford, I have to get up so darn early in the morning.
Well, as it stands right now, the department, I think pretty much the state, we are extending our work from home, telecommuting, telework
Yeah.
situation, because of the new variant. And it's at every agency's discretion in terms of how we're doing it. Our agency right now, as it stands, our department is only requiring us to physically go into the building 1 time every 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
okay.
everybody's different in terms of what their requirements are for their staff, but again, everything has to be balanced. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I can appreciate the fact that you went out. Sounds like you guys were, very energetic and kind of gung ho about doing it.
We're a lot younger then too.
I just want to, right, I understand that, but like I said, I just need to get a clearance, if you will, as to what the process should be or could be, what's allowed, what's, what they think is most feasible. I will follow up with the question as to the status of the appointments, from the governor's office. I will inquire as to that. We do have a new deputy commissioner, Maureen Magnan, who came from the political side or whatever. Maybe she can, call somebody, or somebody can call somebody and get us some people, or get this worked on. So I will follow up with that. That's not a problem. And I can, as I said, and I don't want to keep dragging this on, but we can provide statistical information for you on January's meeting. That would be probably the appropriate time, because we can, go through what we've had for the year.
Okay.
Can I jump in, Vicky? Just two things real quick. One in reference to Jerry, but in the past, I know we've had people assigned to the commission that never show, especially from the private sector. So
Okay,
right. You can emphasize that we need someone to show up that's going to participate.
I remember some woman coming.
Yeah.
Who was very
once-
nicely dressed. She had some very expensive clothes. I remember that. Who came one time, a very beautiful
Never came
person.
again.
Never came again. I don't know who that was. I just
Yeah. I mean, we're really lucky we got Norris, but we need, because Norris brings a lot to the commission. But the other thing too is my quick question: when a complaint comes in that you and Linda decide that, okay, and it gets diverted to the Attorney General's office through Alan, does it go to Alan and then Alan?
No, not, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to just suggest that it, anything with Alan. Everything is done in-house. The only time that Alan is involved is if I know I'm going to have a hearing, or if there's something that I need to ask him for advice on. Everything is done internally within the Department of Consumer Protection.
Alan, right, so let's go back and take the example of a few years back. I don't know, maybe 7, 8. There was a case where the guy broke into he showed up to inspect the house, remember, and no one was home. So he climbed through a window and went through the house. And then the homeowner said, "How'd you get in my house?" He actually broke in the house. Remember, he got arrested. And
and that was a criminal case. That was handled differently. I mean, that was just, once there was a decision in the criminal court, you could revoke his license.
So that was a different process.
Right. That was a different process. Right. And if it's something where it could become criminal, a fraud case or something where it's criminal and it needs to be referred, then Vicky, my understanding is it would be the legal department or the commissioner who would refer it over to the AG's office.
That is correct. Yeah. Or state
just like any other fraudulent,
it wouldn't be me.
Something that falls on the Department of Consumer Protection, a fraudulent pill in the prescription side or something.
Right. It would, it would go through our proper channels, and then the higher ups would send it over to the AG's office or the appropriate agency.
Okay, thank you.
Norris, Norris, we've heard from many people, but you've been very quiet. I want to make sure anything, questions or concerns or comments you want, the floor is yours.
No, what everybody said was valid. It was always, remember, I was a young guy. Like I said, when I went on in 2005, I can remember on one side was Mr. Buckley and on the other side was Chris Italia. And I always remembered that Chris would always say, "Hey, Mr. Buckley, can you do this case?" And that's how it always would get to, if any of the members if anybody needed anything, one person would just pick up the tab. So like I said, I agree with what everybody said. I mean, to me, okay, if you send out something every month, that's good. I don't want to get into, okay, everybody looking over everything. I trust, like I said, I've always trusted Linda's and Vicky's opinions. So does everything have to come to us? That's the only thing I'm saying.
Let me say this. I'm sorry. I appreciate what you're saying. Yeah. Let me say this. I remember when Mr. Buckley was here, and I think that's when I had first started to, when I was first assigned to this. And it's a perfect example of he had gotten ill and there were cases that were given to him.
Yeah.
So I do, it's like a flashback now that you're saying this. So again, we need to make sure that our process, whatever that process may be, is a process that is not going to delay the um, procedures that we have in place or the review process. Because again, we're under the time constraint with the ASC thing about having everything done within a year, which Jerry, rightfully pointed out or whatever. So let me look into what other boards are doing, because there's been a lot of changes. A lot of the board responsibilities have reverted back to the department in other areas. So please let me look into this. Let me get some clarification. I one step at a time. If we can do this incrementally, I know we can have the information from starting January going forward, which I think is excellent, perfect, no problem, about the statistics and all of that. In terms of how it is, we're going to turn it over or let you guys review. Not to say it can't be done, just let me get some clarification as to how it should be done.
Very
Yeah,
good.
because like I said, Vic, I understand completely. I always, in the back of my mind, it was always, Chris would always say, hey, Mr. Buckley, can you deal with, somebody would deal, then we'd come back and everybody would just come back and we'd speak about it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I understand the part where, okay, if Linda's not going to be around in April and I don't know what's going to happen, that part of it. And, but I just don't want it to become where the whole world's getting, if it can be done administratively, like I said, if you tell us on a monthly basis, okay, this, and this, that's fine. But if it can be done before it has to get to us, that's fine too.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. Okay, all right, so something to work on.
Yeah.
We'll get it, not to worry.
Okay, just-
Oh, and one other thing, Vicky, did you say Maureen Magnan?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to know that. Yeah, okay.
She's
I know
our,
her.
we have
So that's
two deputy commissioners now. We had one, we keep growing by leaps and bounds.
Just when
We now have
did
two,
when
Maureen
did
Magnan.
Yeah, when did Maureen become deputy commissioner?
What, this is December,
When did she just?
maybe about, I'll say 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. I don't know. I
Okay.
can't remember, but all the time, because we're
Okay.
working from home, it all kind of blends in together. I can look at
Okay.
it specifically, but it was recently.
And Nora, she was at our
Thank
meeting
you.
last month.
Yeah, she did attend the
I'm
meeting
glad you
last
said that.
month. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, yep.
Okay, let me wrap this up on a couple things. Next month is January, it's 2022. Well, it's like we're doing a restart or a refresh, whatever. We're gonna put whatever process we have in place here. And it's a good time to do it here. That's fine. Knowing full well, let's call it what it is, that Linda, you're retiring in November, or excuse me, April, right?
Yeah, I have 3 more meetings.
Okay, so, we're keeping that in mind. So if there's ever time, there's a change coming, you know what I'm saying? I don't know who's taking your place or what have you.
Neither do I.
But this is good that we're doing this, number one.
Absolutely.
Number two, we try to be, and this group has always tried to be as transparent as possible. And this only enhances that, of which goes down over to John's thought here of increasing, and Sean, it's the public trust. Okay. The one thing I will take, and we got to think about here, is when we talk about value disputes, we run into some issues here. Now, it was in another state, and I know what's going on there, but on a commercial property where it sold for 18 or 19 million dollars, there was an appraisal done within 3 or 4% of that on a tax appeal, and then someone comes in and says, no, the value is 18% of what it just sold for. Folks, that's fraud. That's a value dispute. But there's no way in God's green earth that you could have called that property worth 4 million when it was worth, it just transferred within 60 days at 18, 19 million, So we gotta, we have to take a look at those things. I just put that on the table as an example. It has
No, I got it.
nothing to do with our state, but it's being dealt with in another state. So I think it's a good process. Vicki, you'll be coming back with answers here. We also understand, you're dealing, working at home. Linda, you're working on, what do you come in once a week? Is that what your department has you come in, Linda?
Me,
Yeah.
I come
Once
in
every
as needed.
Okay, that's how that's being run. Okay, I understand, but therefore, but we still can't have everything just sit and do nothing because although you, Linda, you may not be around the next time our good friends from Washington come and do an audit, but I know there's that 1 year clock, right? That
Right. Right.
they're, if there's any one thing, they're really focused on that. And I think maybe with COVID, they kind of rushed over it this time,
Mhm.
but I know I would suspect what's coming, so let's get ahead of the game.
Right.
So I
But
would
you
like,
know, I can say Terry Jo is very good at letting me know if I have mail there and she'll scan it in and send it to me. So,
and Terry Jo, how often do you come into the office?
This week I'll be in 4 days this week. So I come in as needed also, but usually average about 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get a level set here. We are still gonna meet in this format for at least through April, right? Is that what you told me, Linda, before? That's the rule?
Yeah.
Something like that? Okay, all right. Just trying to make sure I get everything tied down here. I would like on our agenda, not only for beginning in January, not only what we'll call summary log or summary chart or whatever it may be that we were just talking about as a beginning here. But I would also like this to be put on old business in the event anybody has any thoughts, suggestions, whatever. Now I was having a cup of coffee and I think, boy, Jerry's nuts. Okay, that's fine. He is nuts. Let's get over that. But we can then say, hey, maybe we should try this, or maybe we should look at that. I would just like to have a follow-up discussion of what we've just discussed here and the event we've had time to think about it. Is that fair with everybody?
Yes, absolutely. Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
good. All right then. That being said, this was a very constructive and very well topic here that I didn't want to ever shortchange what we are talking about. The last couple of things on the agenda I see here is comments or concerns of any person present today. I see Ms. Bouchane, Mr. Bobrowski, a Mr. DeBazio. Is there something that any of the three of you or anybody else who may not be up on the screen would like to present to the commission this morning?
Well, Mr. Bobrowski has had his hand raised. Mr. Bobrowski, if you could go on camera and just state your name and address, the commission would like to speak to you at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if I can put you on camera. I apologize. I'm not good on this Zoom stuff. But for the record, I'm Tim Public. I'd like the opportunity, if I may, to call, Mr. Gavin.
He just chipped out. He's coming back.
We just lost you.
He's back on. He's there.
Okay. Once again, thank you. I just like the opportunity. My wife and I we build senior housing communities, and we have issues for the last 4 years of violation of USAP standards. And I don't want to take any more of the commission's time, but Mr. Gavin, if I could call you with our CFO, she's a retired banker, and just to give you, some issues that we have, we're looking for guidance. I learned a lot today where I know now I can make a complaint. But once again, I don't want to, you guys do a great job. I'm really for public trust. I'm glad each and every one of you is a volunteer, as well as the staff from the state. But anyway, that's what I'm just requesting. I don't know, Mr. Gavin, if you can talk to me or not.
Oh, Vicky, he can call me as a private businessman. But
Correct. But if his case comes, before you, you would have to step down because you've already talked to him.
Yeah, you
But that's
can't call
fine.
me as a commissioner.
Yeah, but once again, Vicky, the reason why is I'm trying to get some information on, this USAP standards and the flagrant discrepancies that we find. So, I wouldn't mind if Mr. Gavin would have to step down if I did a complaint. I just appreciate if I can have some time of his, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. John, you're amenable to that and we're okay?
Yeah, you can give me a call, but I gotta tell you, this is a volunteer position. If it's something that you're looking for a legal opinion for, or something that you really need to contact an attorney. And, I do that work on a regular basis. I do charge for that work as other people do too. So, but yes, you're more than welcome to call me and then we can take it from there. Thank you.
And once again, if we have to compensate you, Mr. Galvin, I don't have any issue with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see a hand. Oh, thank you, Mr. Bobrowski. I see Miss Buchanan has her hand up. Does I see that correctly or no? Oh, I see her big paw right there. Okay.
No, I don't, Chair, but thank
Okay,
you.
I just see it says a hand. I see a,
It's not me.
okay.
Yeah, all
And-
hands are lowered now, Commissioner
Okay.
Rasmussen.
All right, and then Mr. DeBazio, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Do you have anything before the commission?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, but at this time, I do not have any additional comments. So thank you for the opportunity to participate, though.
Very good, thank you. I don't see, am I missing anybody who is a public member or else on here that may want to bring something before us? I don't see any. Okay, that being
No,
the
you've
case,
gotten everyone.
then I do want to say before we go to adjournment, it is the holiday season. And, we said it last year in December of 2020, and here we are in December of 2021. Lord knows what was ahead of us with the COVID and so forth. What gives me happiness that we did get through this year, we worked through the Zoom and we've all worked together, and the staff, you folks have done a yeoman's job. And I just want to say, thank you. And my fellow commissioner members, we've worked hard, and I want to say thank you so much, very much to that. What gives me a little pause and a touch of sadness is I know if I'm still here a year from now that I won't have Linda and Linda on these. So I do hope that every once in a while, Linda, when you both of you retire and you're bored to death and say, what should I do on the second Wednesday of the month or what have you, that you will come and join us and say hello. But from my family to you and yours, whatever holiday that you may be celebrating here in the next few weeks or are celebrating currently, nothing but the very best. Let's stay healthy. This dang, I'm probably more involved with this virus and so forth that we are dealing with, with my work, that it's going to be here with us for quite some time, I'm afraid to say. But that's the world we live in. But I thank you very much. And I just wanted to get that out there to everybody. And I also wanted it's a time maybe for we get an emotion to be, let me say this, Linda. So today was Linda's up. So today was going to be your last time with us here. You're going to stay with us another month or two?
Chair, I'll stay until they give you other people.
Oh boy, do we send a note and say, take your time over to this? Do we
It's
try
a
to?
dangerous, dangerous, Linda, dangerous. Better say April or something.
I don't mind. In fact, I'm listening to you talking about the problems that they had. And when I was on the board way back in the 90s, it was that I had the most fun because I would go out and do the, checking on the appraisals and finding out who did what wrong and all that kind of stuff. I always wanted to be a detective when I was a kid. Nancy Drew was my mainstay, So, but now I'm sort of just trying to lay back and not do too much. But I've been on this committee for too long to just say, okay, I'm just going to go and leave you guys stranded. We're so shorthanded now.
Yeah. Well,
And I don't know.
you.
I don't know why. Unfortunately, the governor that's in now is not the governor that was in when I came back, because that was really easy. My cousin's husband was a close friend of the governor, so he just hand delivered a letter saying I wanted to be on the board, and I was on the board again. It was not a big issue. It didn't take any time to get anybody approved. So it was strange. But we'll do whatever we can.
Well, thank you. Well, then we'll look forward to at least seeing you for next month. And
Right.
We know we have you on a month-to-month contract, as they say.
Okay, that works fine.
Very,
And
good.
I won't increase my fees at all.
Very good. That's
It's
right.
okay. And you know, the last time that they really have appointed it, somebody, that was me and John back in 2014, I believe was John.
Wow.
And 7 years
long
ago.
time.
That is a,
That's wild. But hey, can I get a motion to bring the meeting to a closure?
I make a motion, bring the meeting to a closure
second.
and mandatory that we all have a happy holiday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Is Saunders
Thank
got
you
the
so much,
second?
everyone.
Ayes?
Happy holiday,
Aye.
everybody.
Thank you. Be well. Thank you now. Be
Thank
well.
you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Good holiday.
All right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.